Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be playing around with the stamp set of the month from July, and this is from Spellbinders and it's called Have a Chill Summer. So here's a look at the stamp set. I'm just going to pull out some white paper so it will show up nicely. So I already tried making a card with it already and I like the way it turned out. It's more on the side of clean and simple cards, but I would change up a few things, but I had to try something. Going crazy. Okay, so it comes with a popsicle and then the stick. I think if I were to remake this card, I would do 2 sticks, but I don't know. I like it anyway. And then it has some fruit here. So these are the two-step stamps. So you would put down one or the other first, and then you would layer them on top of each other. And then this is for the strawberry, the little hat, and then these circles. I suppose you could use these to make like a lemon or a lime. You could kind of get creative with that. And then for the stick for the popsicle, there is also 2 steps for that as well. There's the background and then the detail. Then there's a number of sentiments. We have a Chill Summer and a few more. I've already used You're My Favorite. No, sorry. Anything is popsicle because I love a good pun. Then there are coordinating dies that come with the stamp set. So if you want to have dies, I would definitely go ahead and get both of those. It's pretty handy to have the dies, especially for sentiments. And since there are so many nice sentiments in this stamp set, I would say that this is worth it. We have all these sentiments. This is for the stick, this is for the circle, the strawberry, the top, and then these 3. I wanted to make one that uses a bunch of the little inks and make kind of like a collage-y colored card, and then have a popsicle in the center. So I went ahead and cut down some of the Hammermill color paper, and I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to put these off to the side. I really have been playing around with different inks here, and I just wanted to show you with the popsicle. I tried using the Distress Oxide. This was the shaded lilac, and I wanted to make sure that when I was stamping my popsicle it was pretty solid, although it kind of does look like little ice chunks are on it, so if that's what the look you're going for, cool. This is three times, stamping it 3 different times, and it still had some white showing. Then I took this hybrid stamp from Simon Says Stamp, and it's called Jelly Bean. So it was definitely more of a overall tackier kind of an ink. And then this one was, and that was only twice, by the way, and this one was the Lawn Fawn, and it's the dye ink, and this was stamped twice. So it just depends on the look that you're going for, but I really did like how tacky that this ink was. I know it's a hybrid ink, so it's a little different than just the regular Distress inks, and of course I like the Lawn Fawn ink. I used the black a lot when I first started crafting. So let's see. I would like my popsicle to be orange, I think. I think that would be this color that yes, I want it to be like bright orange. Okay, so I'm going to use, maybe I want to use this Hybrid Sunshine. No, that was the one that I used. Okay. So this was the one that I used for this popsicle, and I thought that it would be a very bright color, and it was more of a muted tone, which is fine. I think that I'm going to end up using this as a graduation card, but again, it's more of the earthy tones. I wouldn't call this like a bright orange myself, but that's why it's always important to, just stamp the ink, see what color it is first. I want to make a lemon, kind of an orangey lemon popsicle. So I think I'm going to go with this one for the popsicle. Then I would like to have some citrus around the popsicle. So I'm going to actually stamp off of my card as I make this background. And I need some scrap paper to make sure that I don't get ink all over my work surface. So I'm going to use this, oh dear. I'm going to use this manila folder that I use it for, you can see this was from the Australia themed card kit. All right, I'm going to need some acrylic blocks for this, and I'm going to have to stamp twice quite a bit here, so we'll see how this goes. I think that if it's not perfectly stamped twice, it won't be too big of a problem because it will be kind of like a playful look. And I suppose I could use my Misty, but I would get some really inky fingers and that would take forever because I would have to move the stamp around every time that I wanted to stamp, and I'm not really interested in that. Looks like there's something on my stamp, so I'm just gonna kind of scrape it off and hope for the best. What is on there? It's a mystery. I know that if I wanted it to be more of a solid color of ink, I could use oxide inks. I don't have any oxide inks right now that are very bright, but perhaps one day I will. Okay, even though lemons aren't really round, this is going to be the slice of the lemon, so it doesn't matter. Therefore, I suppose you could make a grapefruit, you could make really any citrus flavor to match the flavor of what you want your popsicle to be. This color is more of a subdued yellow, and I think I'm going to use that for my slices. I'm just going to slightly turn this inside piece a little as we go. It's kind of fun to make your own pattern paper this way. I do like this color combination now that I have kind of had a moment to look at it. It works out. So I want my popsicle to match my lemons here, so I'm going to make my popsicle yellow. I'm going to use my Misty stamp positioning tool to stamp my popsicle just in case I need to stamp it more than one time. Okay, so with lemonade, I am going to load up my stamp and get it nice and inky. Okay, just make sure it's in the same spot. This stamp has a pretty big surface area to it, so it tends to stick and then it moves the paper, but as long as I remember to put it back in the corner, the Misty saves the day. Okay, since I plan on doing 2 different sticks on this popsicle, I am going to do one side and then move my stamp to finish the second side. That looks about right to me. I think I'm going to stamp that twice just to get rid of some of that white space. And hopefully the ink does its job, spreads out, and I don't have to worry about it. Hooray. Okay. Rub that clean. Then I will put this on where I think it should go. And I will stamp this second one just like the first, twice. Now I want to put on the wood detail. Since the stick is a 2-part stamp, I'm going to just put that back and grab the wood detail. With the wood detail, I want to use a black ink just so it shows up. I won't be die cutting it out on this one. There's the detail. For the black, I'm just using my regular black archival ink from Ranger. Tried and true. Okay, well, since I did not remember to die cut out my popsicle, I'm going to fussy cut it out. And if you don't know, fussy cutting out means that you cut the image out with the scissors rather than using a die. And you can go directly up to where the ink is, or you can cut a little edge and leave a border of white. I don't really enjoy fussy cutting, but if I have to do it, I will use my scissors here that are spring-loaded. It just is way easier on your hand. Although this popsicle is not a complicated shape to cut out at all, since it has fairly simple edges. But again, it's not my favorite thing in the world to do. The dies are definitely a better option. But unfortunately, I forgot to use the die to cut out the popsicle in the first place. So this is what we're doing. Because in the crafting world, you either have to start over or roll with it. And I'm choosing to roll with it. I think it's time to pick a sentiment. Sunshine and good times. Since this is a pretty bright card, I'm going to use a scrap of paper and I'm going to use my archival ink to make my sentiment. And I chose to put the stamp a little higher up from the corner because I will be using the coordinating die to cut out my sentiment. And it looks like my stamp worked out nicely and I don't have to stamp twice today. So that is a win in my book. Next, to use the coordinating die, I will bring out my sidekick. Perfect. There's just something about a sentiment that has a coordinating die. I think it just kind of gives a finishing look. It's not so just on. I mean, this, it works, but if that was cut out with the popsicle cut out, I think it just kind of coordinates nicely. I'd like my popsicle to stand out a little bit more from the background. So I am going to die cut out a vellum circle from this paper and see what that looks like. All right, now I have my circle, and I do like the way that that looks. Perfect. Okay, now I need to start adding things to my card base. So I will just layer on my background. And if you recognize the cutout here from this yellow card, it was from the June Card Kit of the Month die. That was a really fun party hat. And I just needed this color, and I thought to myself about a month ago, cut out the center because it can be layered on top of other things and no one will miss the inside if it's covered up. Sometimes people get a little bit weird about taking away the inside, but if it bothers you, you can put a different scrap of paper in the center. It doesn't bother me that there is like a slight dip down, but it's nothing too dramatic. Now I did want this circle kind of going off the edge, so I'm going to trim my circle off. I seem to have misplaced my paper cutter. Sometimes when I get crafting, I just start getting too messy. Does anyone else relate? And after I'm done with the project, it's like, okay, regroup, clean up. Yes, that's perfect. Now I am going to be gluing down my popsicle right about here. So I'm actually going to put glue behind the popsicle where that will be, so there's not glue showing underneath the vellum. So I'm going to just kind of pretend this is now the back side of the vellum, and my popsicle will be going about here, and even though there's not glue on the edge of the vellum piece, this will not fall off because of the glue here in the center. So it will be covered. And yes, art glitter and barely art glue are clear glue when it dries, but I still don't want any of those wiggly lines showing on the vellum later. I might just put just a dab in the corner to make sure that it doesn't fly up, but just a little bit. And then I'll just hold briefly. And you can't see that, so that's good. And I might just put one more little dot here on the edge and here. That was a bit too much, so I'm going to wipe it a little bit away. There we go. Working with foam can be a little tricky, but it is nice on a project, so definitely think it's worth trying if you haven't before. Or maybe you have and it's just been in your stash for a while. Now these are foam squares from Spellbinders that are left over from a kit, so I will use them up. eventually. Definitely not on this project because I won't need that many. I should probably move this one more towards the edge so it sticks and supports the corner. And I always cut up these foam squares because they are still good if you use the negative space from the foam. Again, I want to support the edge and the center. And now the sticks, maybe I'll just use some foam squares for those guys. One there, and one there. Now that all of my release paper is off of my foam squares, I will adhere my popsicle to the card. Ta-da! And I think I do want this on as well, so I'm going to be using some of the foam squares here, but I will be using more of like a rectangle shape to support my sentiment, so it's on the same level as my popsicle without it falling down. So that was fairly simple. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the other side since that part will be touching my popsicle. And I do have a little mark on my popsicle, so I'm hoping that my sentiment will cover that up, and it will. Perfect. Perfect, I love it. Okay. Now all this card needs is a little bit of Wink of Stella. So I am going to use the glitter clear, or the clear glitter, but it says glitter clear, so that's why it said glitter clear, to add a little bit of sparkle to my popsicle because it's a popsicle and this is a fun card, so it needs a little glitter. Oh, how adorable. Perfect. There's a look at my finished card up close. And I'm sure I'll be making more cards with this. These are the first two that I've made, but we'll see what else I can make. So if you've liked this video, please go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future. I will be showing all sorts of different products throughout the month of July. So again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye!